Hello, lovely learners. Welcome back to A Life Learned. So I've been trying to get this video out for ever, since before the last video I put out actually. I just keep struggling to get myself motivated. So I actually recorded it the day before I'm putting it out, which I don't usually do. I usually just record and put out. But I keep struggling with motivation on Sundays. So we're recording it now. It's going to get put out. That's the point. Wanted to start with a tip that I thought would be helpful to anyone who isn't a regular follower and is just looking to apply to the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, because I like to make these videos a little bit more useful than me just venting my experience. So, main tip, most important thing I think you want to keep in mind when you are applying to the tribunal for a case is to make sure that you are being clear and concise and, as they say, painting or describing a coherent narrative. That was their wording. So you want to make sure that when you're describing what happened to you, you're describing it in clear language and that you're describing it in the exact order that it happened and that you remember it happening so that it's sequential, one event after the other after the other. Because a reason that they will deny you is that they cannot understand basically what you're going on about, as they say, or they don't feel that what you have presented is a coherent narrative. Coherent meaning understandable, narrative meaning story. So they're saying we don't understand what you're saying. And throughout the rest of their reply to me in my denial, they basically said that I did not outline the events in a sequential fashion. So they didn't clearly have an order of like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And when you're saying that the government has just generally violated your rights in many ways through the disability system, of course it's not coherent. I'm just gonna say that. But anyways, so unfortunately, the sad result or final video of my series on taking the government to the Human Rights Tribunal is that my case was denied. And yeah, it kind of sucks. It was discouraging. I did consider appealing it, but I was in the middle of not midterms, actually, it was finals. So I was trying to get a lot of assignments in last minute because, you never get to it till the deadline's almost there. And I did realize that there is work moving forward on other people's behalf that is having or has this similar intent. So for those who aren't aware, the NDP within Ontario has actually been petitioning the government for I don't know how long actually, but the point is that they're doing it and they've got the petition actively running to push the government to double social assistance. So not just ODSP, but Ontario Works as well, and to recognize that we are all in absolute poverty and have been in that situation for decades. So I allowed myself to step back because I'm honestly doing a lot of other things in terms of local activism in London and then trying to finish with my schooling and stuff. So it's all just been a lot. And on evenings where I don't have the energy to do anything, I sit feeling this pang of guilt that I'm not working harder on these activism projects. And that doesn't really help my wellness, which doesn't help me actually make progress in any of the activism that I do. So with that in mind, I'm trying to be more mindful of my wellness and of how I approach projects, and reasonably stepping back when it's not working out. So I did push this. I tried. It was hard work filling out that Human Rights Tribunal application. So for anyone who's like considering it, just know that it's a lot of work. But if you're going to put in the work, definitely make it worth your time. Make sure that it sounds sequential. It sounds like it happened in a clear order. And my best suggestion on making sure that is the case before you submit it is reading it out loud to yourself and then letting someone else read it. Of course, if it's a sensitive situation, you want to be careful who you're allowing to read it. It might be better even to like take your name out, like copy and paste, take your name out and post it anonymously. Anonymously, I can English sometimes. there's options on ways to get your writing edited without judgment. So I just wanted to suggest considering that, because usually when you read out loud to yourself and then when you have someone else look at it, certain grammatical things can be pointed out that can show you, oh, that doesn't actually make sense, or oh, I didn't mean it that way, whatever. So just for clarity's sake, um, make sure you've read it many, many times over, read it out loud, someone else has read it, before you submit it, because, oh, there's May, um, because it's a lot of work, and if you're going to put in that work, you might as well make it worth your time, right? But anyways, I guess I just want to finish off by apologizing that I wasn't able to keep pushing. Um, I am only one person after all. I wasn't able to find any groups or people to work with me on campaigning for this, so I just made it like a personal project to fill out the application and pursue it. Maybe if I was a lawyer or a writer or like an English wordsmith, I might have been more successful. Alas, I'm not. But I did the best I could, and it is at least within their records, because they can't just like, wash it off, that another person, I should say, because I'm sure this happened many times, has complained about the basic human rights violation that the government continues to make improvements or changes to the social assistance program that strictly and only benefit those people who can work, which was what my case was about. But for those who are interested, I'm going to be sharing below the link to the NDP petition to try and push the government to double social assistance. So if you're still interested in this subject and you want to try and do your part in another way to get activism on the subject and to get the government paying attention to the fact that we are living in absolute poverty and it is a genuine violation of our rights, unacceptable, and something needs to be done about it, please go to that link, check it out, sign your name, share it on your medias, and hopefully one day they'll hear us. I mean, the fact that an actual party within the government, the NDP, are pushing it gives me hope, because they're not just one little person. They're a group of politically capable, competent, trained people. So I hope it gives you a little bit of hope too. But I also recognize there have been a lot of petitions like this in the past that kind of went nowhere, even when they were pushed by parties or party members. So, not trying to be a party pooper, but I recognize the reality of the situation, and I'm just trying to say that despite the lack of success in my situation, things are still moving. So, keep that in mind. And if you have any thoughts, feedback, comments, if you want to share your situation with the Human Rights Tribunal, or any questions you have, I'm no expert, but I'm happy to try and help you find information or to answer any of your questions. And as always, I'd love to hear your stories. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, do join me again next week or sometime soon, where I try again to share a little something I've learned or experienced in life.